How's it going, guys? Odds and Ends RC here. Today, here to show you my new to me um, 1/8 scale Yeti Junior Can-Am I picked up off a Facebook Marketplace. I ended up getting this and another on-road car for $75 for both of them. And the other car is more expensive, so I'm just going to say I got this for $25 basically. It does come with some issues though. Uh, First of all, I have it on. As you can see, it does not move. From what I gather so far, I can see that the front CVD shaft is broken, and in the rear, I'm guessing there's plastic shafts inside of here, the stock factory shafts. I'm guessing one of them broke. So you got a broke front end and a broke rear end. And since they're open differentials, it's not going to move. But other than that, it's in pretty decent shape. It came with the battery and the charger. It's got a few little skint marks on it, but overall, I don't think it was used that much. I'm pretty happy with it for $25. I don't think you can beat that, especially with the radio and the charger and the battery. So what I did, I haven't even taken it apart yet, but I'm just kind of guessing. I went ahead with this aluminum rear locker. We're going to put that in there while we're in the rear end, and that'll make the rear end solid. You know, and make it a posi axle so it doesn't spin one-wheel drive back there. And then we also got the steel front axle shafts. These aluminum ones that's in this thing are weak, so we went ahead and went with the steel ones. And I also got the aluminum rear axle shafts that go inside the plastic housing. I couldn't find steel ones. I don't know if they make them or not. Let me know down below. But all I could find was aluminum. So I went ahead and got that. And they got to be stronger than the plastic ones. And I figured while I was there, I might as well get the steel rear drive shaft. The one that's in there, you can see it's just a plastic one. And later on down the road, if I upgrade this thing to like a brushless or at least a 3-cell ESC, something to give it a little more power, I don't think this will hold up. So to start off, I think I'm going to take the rear end out, get it apart, and then get you guys in there, and we'll kind of go from there and see what's broke. And I'll tell you what it takes to get it apart. Alright, be back in a few. Alright guys, I got the rear end cover off. I just went ahead and I undid the upper link, but I left it's still attached to the lower link. And I took all the screws out of the rear end. There is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. 8 screws holding this little thing together. And took the cover off and got in here. And what I found wrong is kind of what I figured, is this axle shaft is broken. That's why the rear end will not move. The other one is still good, not broken. But since one side's broken, in turn, that makes both sides not turn, if that makes sense. But since it's got a little tiny plastic differential gears in there, I'd hate to see what would happen if you'd put a brushless system in here. I don't see them holding up. So that's why we're going to put the locker in there and put the aluminum axles in there. But I'll get them in there, and then I'll give you a shot of them before I seal the rear end back up. Alright guys, got everything in there. Everything went pretty smooth, self-explanatory. Um, Down here's the old guts that was in there. It's just pretty much all plastic. There is 2 shims inside. They kind of shim your ring and pinion here. There was 2 on the plastic deal, this here, and they go behind the bearing, and that kind of shims your ring and pinion here. And I had to take one of them out. 2 of them was too tight. I could barely get the whole rear end in there. It just, the bearings didn't want to fit in the grooves. So I took one out, and it slid down in there, and the gear mesh seems to be pretty good. While I was in there, went ahead and put some lithium grease on the gears, and I put a little in the little cup joints there, and doesn't hurt anything. It just kind of, it didn't have anything on it. It didn't look like, it looked like it was dry metal. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this cover back on and throw the wheels back on it and see if we have at least rear wheel drive now. These are the 12 millimeter hexes that slip on these ends, and then that's what, you know, you got 12 millimeter hexes in the wheels, so you could put, you know, any kind of wheels and tires you want on this thing. But yeah, let me get her back together and see if we at least got rear wheel drive. Alright guys, got her back together. Didn't run into any issues. When you put the wheels back on, this bolt, it's got one bolt that holds the wheels on, and they used to be threaded into plastic, so you know they wouldn't really back off. They have a pretty tight hold. But since I put the aluminum axles in there, they're threaded into aluminum now, so they could come loose a lot easier. So I just went ahead and put a little dab of blue Loctite on the ends of the threads. Try not to get any on the plastic itself, because that Loctite kind of eats plastic, but just a little tiny dab on the threads on the end of the bolt, and then screw her in there and snug her down. But now we have rear wheel drive. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I did put the metal drive shaft in there. It'll go right in there. You know, nothing to it. I went ahead and put a little bit of white lithium grease on either end. But now we're gonna jump up to the front and replace these shafts. I'm gonna try to do it without taking apart as little as possible. I'm gonna take the wheel off, and then maybe try to just snap off the upper link and then the tie rod end here, and see if the whole thing I just swivel down to where I can get everything out. But I'll give her a whirl and see what I come up with. Alright guys, so I had to take the knuckle off of there. You have to have room to be able to get the bearing out of there. Just 2 screws, comes right off, not a big deal. Here's the broken axle, and then this is the little hub deal, little carrier the end of the axle goes into. Here's the new axle that will go inside of there, and then this little thing goes in the hole, and then this little pin goes through that and locks it all in place. And then when you slide the bearing on there, it holds everything together and it can't come apart. A little intimidating when you first see it, but once you start picking it apart, I used a tiny little Allen wrench to push that pin out of there. But I don't know, not much to it. I'm gonna throw her back together and do the other side also, and then I'll show you the finished product. Alright guys, got her back together. Everything went pretty smooth. One thing to watch out for, if I can get it to show up, is the 2 bolts that holds your knuckle on top and bottom. You don't want to tighten them until they bottom out. If you do that, then it binds everything up and it's not able to steer. You want to leave these a little loose, top and bottom. Axles went in there, everything works. I think these tires have a little bit of water in them. They're a little out of balance when they first take off. But yeah, I got the axles in there. One extra thing I did, if I can get it to show up. If you can see the black cups at the end of the axle there. Originally they didn't have that. They were actually in the rear axle. This is the differential from the rear axle, and your axle went in there, and then black cups slid over the top of this to strengthen it, to keep these little ears from breaking off. And I figured I'd try it. I slid them onto the front just to give it a little more strength, since it's still plastic in the front. And ran around a little bit. They don't seem like they're gonna pop off, so we'll try it. But I think, I'm not 100% on this, let me know if you guys know. I think the front differential is the same as the rear differential. I would like to probably buy the locker for the front if it is the same, so that way it's all metal. I know it won't turn as sharp, but it'll probably crawl a little better. Other than that, it was pretty easy fix. Pretty happy with it. I don't know if I'll keep it in my fleet of vehicles, but it was cheap enough. I could always trade it or sell it and get something I actually want, but it's kind of neat for what it is, I guess. But yeah, if you guys have any comments or ideas. One other thing I was trying to find, and I could only find it in like China. I was looking for one in America. Is the center drive line that, you know, hooks onto your rear drive shaft and eventually goes to your front end. I was trying to see if they sell that in metal, and I couldn't find it in America. I could only find it in China. I'm going to keep digging. If you guys know where there's any at, let me know. Kind of like to have the whole drive line made out of metal, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I have another video shortly.